Hey folks, hi everybody. Yeah, thank you so much for joining my talk. My name is Shedrack Akintayo, and today I'm going to be talking about a subtle introduction to React portals. So, this React portal is actually not so much of a popular API in React, but um, I believe that probably some of you must have seen the use of a portal somewhere. And for those that have not seen the use of a portal before, I'm also going to talk about it in this talk. So let's get started. Um, my name is Shedrack Akintayo. Like I said, I work at Platform.sh. I'm a developer relations engineer, and I'm from Lagos, Nigeria. I'm actually making this talk from Lagos, Nigeria, and I'm also a technical writer and also a community builder. I like manage communities like Facebook Developer Circles Lagos and Open Source Community Africa, along with a bunch of enthusiastic young people that are trying to change the narrative of open source in Africa and trying to get more people in open source. So that's basically some of the community work I do. Now, in this particular talk, just so we are on track, just so we know what we are going to be covering, um, I'm going to be talking about what React Portal is. I'm going to talk about what React Portal is. I'm also going to be talking about the use cases for React Portal. I'm also going to be talking about. I'm going to show basically a very simple, typical example of React Portal. Then I would also highlight some benefits of React Portal to React developers. And lastly, but not the least, actually, I'm going to show like an example of like how custom widgets built with React Portal can improve overall accessibility. Now let's get started. Now, have you ever had that? No, I mean, if you have been doing front-end development for a while, you must have had that, overflow hidden situation or stacking context issue. For example, where you're trying to render a child container on a parent container, but the current parent container is blocking focus on the child container. Like when you want to build some tooltip or a drop down, that's basically where this kind of situations is always occurs. So um I'm pretty sure most of us here have had that particular issue. I'm pretty sure we've had that particular issue one way or the other. And now I'm going to show you a solution. I probably have a solution for you. So sit back and relax, and we're going to talk about the solution to your problems. So let's do that, right? Um, so what is React Portal? Portals were introduced to the library in version 16, of course, to the React library in version 16, according to what the documentation says. React Portal is basically a first-class way to render child components in the DOM node outside the parent DOM hierarchy. Now, in as simple words, is if you want to render a child component outside the parent component as easy as possible, the best thing you probably would do is to use the React Portal. Now, portals also have access to context. They also have access to event bubbling. They also have access to states of that particular component tree. So nothing really changes in the React 3. What changes is in the DOM, is in the browser DOM. So that's one thing you should probably know about React Portal. We'll talk about this later on in the talk. So let's continue what like we're talking about now. We are probably wondering like, what does that mean? Why would I even need to do that, right? When I could just use the whole the whole native select widgets, or use the no whole the normal native inputs boxes. So why exactly would I need to do to use the React Portal? Now, by default, by default in React, an app is rendered in a single DOM node, and of course, it's in the app root. So according to this demo you can see here, this code block you can see here, we can see that we are getting the document, the element by ID, which is the root of the app. This is where every single thing, our app, this is basically where our entire app is going to be rendered in the app root, right? Now, but what if you like want to render children outside the DOM node? Like outside the root DOM node, what if you want to render the children outside it? Like, what are you going to do? As you can see, this the GIF here It's trying to tell you, like, think about it. Like, what are you gonna do if you want to render children outside the DOM node? Now, this is a classic scenario where you probably want to do that. So you would want to do that when a parent element has styling, like a Z index pushing it to the front of the page, or an overflow hidden. Now, but you want the child to visually appear on the top of the container. So you want to like stack your child component or child element at the top of its container. That is, render the child outside the parent component. For example, a modal. This is something that we all know. This is also something that we are pretty much, most of us are pretty much used to, modals. This is when you would probably want to use a React portal. Now, while we're like, okay, I've mentioned modal. Modal is probably one way you could use a React portal. You could also use a tooltip. You also use React portals to create tooltips, and you could also use hover cards. You could also use it for loaders. You could also use, and most importantly, this is one of the things that it's actually mostly used for, is the select menu. Now, later on in the talk, we'll talk about specifically the select menu, how React portal improves it overall. Now, so what does a classic example of a React portal looks like? Now, as you can see in this particular demo, the way to create a React portal is to grab create React portal function from React DOM. So as you can see here, we have React DOM dot create portal. This is where we can now render all the definitions for whatever we want to do in whatever portal we want to create. So then outside it, you also render the children, which is those the children node you want to render outside the parent node. Then that's basically then the DOM node. Basically, that's basically the best way to define a React portal in React is to do React DOM create portal, or you import create portal from the React DOM. You import the create portal from the React DOM. Then that's how to create a React portal, basically the syntax. Now, if you can see document the body, now document the body here is actually the parent component. You have to specify the parent component, right? So document the body here is actually the parent component. Now, DOM node, like as you can see here, where DOM node is the parent DOM element for the child component, where the child component will be rendered, basically. Now, benefits of React portal to developers. Now, you might be thinking, okay, we heard about modals, you heard about select. What is basically the benefit of using a React portal to me as a React developer, right? So one of the most important benefits that I personally see is you can create more accessible custom widgets. So whenever we are building as developers, we have to put certain things like accessibility into place. Now, this is one way React portal help accessibility overall, and I will demonstrate how it helps accessibility overall later on in the talk. Now, we can also build better widgets. I mean, we can also build widgets that actually follow the React style guide in creating custom select buttons and widgets. It also gives developers an advantage to add components outside the DOM hierarchy while still maintaining event bubbling and state management. So you can render, you can still access context and state outside the parent DOM element. You can still do that with React portal. Now, last but not least, React portals make listening to your events in your dialogues and hover cards as easy as if they were rendered in the same DOM tree as the parent component. So you don't have to worry about, how do I access events? How do I access states from my parent component if I'm rendering the child components outside the parent DOM node? So this is one way React portal can benefit React developers moving forward. Now, the next thing we probably want to talk about is improving accessibility in custom widgets with React portal. Like I said, this is something that I want to show. Now, React portal is great for building things like modals and select menu, of course, like I mentioned earlier in the talk, because it's one of the benefits is that it makes it easy to trap focus within the modal. Like, okay, when I click on a modal, I need to make sure that the focus on that modal is just on the modal. I need to be able to have access to things outside the modal, right? Not the entire screen. When I click on a modal, I will need to be able to focus on that particular modal, not the entire browser window. Now, that way, especially keyboard users don't find themselves outside of an open modal. Important. There's some people that actually use keyboards more than they use their mouse. So we need to also build for this type of people, which makes us care about accessibility. That's why I mentioned that it also helps to improve the accessibility of custom widgets. Now, so you're probably wondering, okay, so why do I need to, build for, why do I need to build for keyboard users? Why do I need to care about that? How do I even do that? So please hear me out. Just hear me out. I'm going to show you an example of why I think React portals help solve a particular problem. Now, actually, with a portal, you still need to do the work of keeping focus locked in. I mean, you have to do that yourself, but it's much easier when you use a portal because the modal content is rendered to the next application route, which is outside the original, the parent route. Now, so simply setting display none on the application route would prevent focus from going into the rest of your application. So, which, like I mentioned, is important that when I click on a modal or I click on a select button, I need the focus to be just on the select button. I don't need it to extend to the rest of the application or the rest of the browser window, which can affect keyboard users. I need it to just be specific. Now, you can further enhance this by managing the tab focus too, when you use tab to make sure that accessibility all around works. Now, the best way to actually visualize the accessibility of a portal is to use a native select without the React portal. So if I go to this particular link, so let me move on to it. Now, if I click on this, any of these particular select buttons here, and I click on this, if I click on this now, you can see that, okay, I'm inside the modal, right? I'm inside the modal. Now, if I want to click on any of this, say this, you see that it actually has to close the modal first before I can access this tab, which should not be that way. Which should definitely not be that way. So as you can see, let me demonstrate it again. If I click on this and I want to click on any part of the screen, it actually has to close this particular select button actually has to close. So if I'm a keyboard user and I try to access somewhere outside the modal, it has to close this modal. I need focus to remain on this particular modal, which I'm trying to show you on why if we use a portal in this case, I would be able to access this particular tab without this select box closing. So this is actually built with the native select API in the browser. So it's quite important to use a React portal for this particular situation where focus is actually not being entirely trapped in this particular select box. So if I click on this, it has to close this before I can actually interact with any part of the browser. It shouldn't be that way. If I'm clicking on this should remain open even though I click on somewhere else, right? I need the focus to just remain only in that particular select box, not outside, not other parts of the application. So I hope you actually understand what I'm trying to demonstrate here. Now, if you notice, while the select is open, you cannot do anything. You can't even close the tab. You must exit the select context before you can interact with the rest of the application or the browser, which is wrong, which is actually shouldn't be that way. Now, React portals actually fix this particular area. When you use a React portal to actually make that select widgets, you can actually interact with other parts of the browser or the application window without necessarily having to close that particular context. So that is one of the accessibility benefits of using a React portal. And I hope we all keep this in mind whenever we are building custom widgets like modals and select buttons, etc. It's really, really important to make sure that we are caring about every type of user. We also make sure that everything we build is actually accessibility rated and very, very friendly to all types of users. Now, with a React portal, we can interact with the rest of the application browser without having to close the modal or select widget like I mentioned. Now, there are certain things that you actually need to note when using React portals. It's really, really important to note these things down whenever you are using React portals, just so we can recap every single thing we've said. Children rendered through portals are still under React controls. It's still in the React tree in the browser. It's still there in the virtual DOM. It does not affect the React tree. It only affects the DOM structure, but never the React components tree. It does not do that. So that's why you still have access to event bubbling and also state management. Please keep that in mind when building with React portals. Now, the best place you can use portals is when you run into the overflow hidden or stacking context issued bug. Probably most of us have faced must have faced if we are actually doing our course of our career as a front-end developer, as a React developer. If you need to render a child component outside the parent component or parent tree, you need to try to first solve that issue with React portals. It's one of the reasons why the React team actually created that particular API. So one thing we can do for them is utilize this the right way and actually follow best practices when it comes to writing React code. So that will be all for today, and I hope you actually enjoyed the talk. Thank you so much for joining in, and if you have any questions, please leave it in the question box. I will do well to answer. Because if you have personal questions you want to ask me, you can reach out to me on Twitter at Skoda_Black, and if you want to collaborate anyway, you can reach out to me at Shedrack.Akintayo at platform.sh. Thank you so much, everybody. If you have questions, I'll be here to answer your questions and listen to you.